Good morning, everyone. Kind of a quiet Monday morning. Hold on. All right, there we go. Big day, Friday. Certainly went further than I thought it would. Just continued to trend up. Little dips during the day, but see the futures here made it up toward that pivot high where it stalled. Did get through. Well, even the SPX got through 4,400, and there's one of the very few times that prices have gone through our top strike or either strike. So, and the rally just kind of fed on itself and got slightly above. We'll get to SPX, got slightly above that 4,400, where I mentioned there was a large open interest in puts and calls at the same level. And I'm sure that helped it push up a little bit more once it just started to grind through it, but didn't get all that far. So now, as you can see, today is an inside day. And most times, historically, you get a resting day after a wide range bar day. When a move like this, and we've got a red bar ignored at this resistance. It certainly looked like, pattern like this, it would pull back toward the 200 or in between here before it would go higher. So, buyers have kind of shot a whole lot of bullets with a scenario like this. And so while today could be a resting day as markets wait for more economic news that's coming, I believe even tomorrow, if you don't know what it is, it's pretty significant at 8:30 tomorrow, the core inflation rate month over month, year over year, inflation rate month over month, year over year, CPI. So at 8:30, it's going to be big numbers as far as inflation goes. And then you got a bunch of Fed guys speaking later part of the afternoon. And on Wednesday, you get PPI, core PPI, retail sales. So it's going to be big numbers tomorrow and on Wednesday. And then, Thursday, you get your typical jobless claims and whatever. 2 p.m. today, Treasury statement on a potential shutdown. Yeah, potential shutdown. I guess that's supposed to get people nervous. And if they shut down, how many times have we been through this? It's ridiculous. Anyway. So as prices pull back, if they pull back, we've got, minor support level, which was tested overnight. As you can see there now, it's attempting to make a lower high. Got a little bit of a wide range bar, just chopping around there. Not a big deal. There is a little void below. There's always going to be a void when you get a wide range bar. As prices advance there, and then we'll see how far prices come down or not. And as we'll see today, how much of a correction do we get today or not? Can it continue? Does anything get it moving today to get another green bar? So right now, just a little profit taking or selling and just technically just doing what things typically do after a big bar. And just, we'll see where this week goes. But what we want to see, and for the bullish case, is that prices don't close deep into the green bar. That's the factory work. Same thing every time. Qs, it was all semiconductors and some other tech stocks, and got close to this resistance area up there, and it's resting. Same thing, same pattern. The dip, the pullback, the retest, the advance up into resistance, and now just resting. The Dow, lesser to an extent, but right? It was already at that pivot high. So looking for this to roll over, as it did. Remember, there was Fed chair comments and the bond auction. And then bond markets were closed on Friday. And hey, the cat's away. Let's play, right? And up it went. And so now bond market is open. Interest rates are up a little bit. Equities are down a little bit. Not a big deal. We'll see where it ends up. Now, the Russell, now it did make a turn. I mean, now when we talk about the depth of retracements and wide range bars, this is there. Right? And so what we want to see is this Russell begin to bring up the rear. And look at the little dip that's going on right now. So what we'd like to see here because we got this green bar reversal and pullback to where this should begin to stabilize is, a bar like this where it dips down, got a bottoming tail bar for now, but we want to see it come right back up into this resistance area and then start moving sideways or push through it. That's the kind of price action that confirms a higher time frame in a lower time frame. So we'll be watching to see if the Russell can do that. And of course, it's going to need the regional banks, which you can see the way they came down, kind of a steep angle of retracement, about halfway into the green reversal bar from 2 weeks ago. And from a bullish point of view, we'd want to see this begin to turn up. And biotechs, they stabilized, right? They've been getting killed, but they had the big weekly bar as well 2 weeks ago. And as we come into the end of the year, right? You can believe that the end of the year is here, close. Retailers, we'd like to see them start to show some improvement. So while from a broader market perspective, Friday was impressive, but not things really participated like, looking at semiconductors was like, wow, how, they had a big green day, taking out resistance and moving up to the next resistance area. Well, Robert asking about, banks with interest rates. And, sometimes just because interest rates move up a little bit, it doesn't necessarily always mean that the regional banks will do poorly. We just have to see which way they start moving. But one of the reasons I showed you biotechs is because if they start to show some relative strength, that's going to help. And then, there's oil stocks in there too. So you can see this is oil and gas. This is sitting on the 200 MA. Might this start moving up? So we're in a point here where we need to see some rotation into things like retail and regional banks and biotechs to where the breadth begins to expand. And if we see that, that'll be a positive for, hey, will the markets be able to continue higher? And of course, everything is going to hinge on what interest rates do. And part of our conversations last week was, so you can see interest rates are up here. So even a couple of weeks ago in the green room, and we have conversations as to, well, here's a turning point. What if, then that, and trying to come up with a game plan, not only for the day like we do here, but what could happen in the next week or two. And that conversation was about, can this form a head and shoulders where interest rates are down on the support and they rally up into this unfilled gap and the 20 MA where they begin to roll over. So if this was to happen, let's assume this keeps going up, equities will pull back into that wide range bar that occurred on Friday on, the semiconductors, and there's a bottoming tail bar on the ones that we looked at, and whether, say, the regional banks and biotech and retailing, they hold up relatively well during this scenario. So based on that, right, this would be bearish for the markets, interest rates coming up into where sellers will be. And now if this begins to turn down, where equities would find some legs, right, they'd like that. You know, maybe, we get, in December is good. I mean, if we come into the middle of the month and we got an options expiration at the end of this week, well, I titled the slide, could there be a market top? And so where prices maybe pull back for a bit, looking at those semiconductors and FANG stocks, sure, they need a little bit of a pullback, and where things could line up maybe for a good December. Let's take a little peek at our market internals, which are neutral right now. They're really not giving us, an edge here. Breath came up as it should have on that rally, which was positive. And this came down close to zero, right over here. I was really hoping this would come down to 4,300, but it didn't happen the way would have been the ideal scenario for maybe getting to 4,500, which at this point, looking at, that S&P chart with such a reversal bar, one thing we know for sure is it better not go back down and close below Friday's low. If it does that, it's, all bets are off as far as this going higher, because that would be a shock pattern. And that would probably send prices at least down to 4,300. So, just a simple line in the sand at this point, under Friday's low, the 50 MA on SPX, it shouldn't go back down there. Pretty much common sense. And the good thing is sentiment is still down here at a relatively high, I say high level, even though this is down because I invert this to be more aligned. It's inverted to be more aligned with breath as sentiment comes down. With the breath, they line up together where we look for them both to be in the green or both to be in the red, and they're in disagreement right now. So it doesn't give us any edge as far as that goes. Close to an overbought level. Well, it doesn't matter that breath is near this red level. It doesn't matter because it doesn't, as far as a larger signal of something, because these are not aligned. Could it mean something in the very short term? You just get bigger moves when they're aligned together. So when this reached an extreme, and I explained back then the way it happened, and what I said even before it happened was what we need to see if this is going to advance from here, that it happens like as an explosion getting up to a higher level, and that's exactly what it did. And that's what confirms a move like this versus, the way it comes up kind of like that. Right. So now institutions, I think, are just too much into wanting to jump on things. And they did it, not wanting to, they did it on Friday when the bond market's closed. So you got a 2-bar reversal. Our bias now is that this will go up here unless it goes down there. So intraday dips as things come down, as they might. And let's go back to SPY. As they might, you want to see it stay here. So I've got this, minor support level, ideally, any pullbacks. You just look at intraday, what that looks like. So coming down here, there should be buyers, maybe a little bit lower. It rips around and back and forth in here. And, you can see where it is. It's right on the top of that little support area on the hourly time frame, minor support. So even though it's down a little bit here this morning, it's not a big deal. If it starts coming down here, well, something's wrong, black and white. Yeah. So you've got a void the way it went up. You've got minor support, and it can come through minor support. Not a big deal, right? It's just an area, but it's got to start to create support points in here, right? Chop around. And so we go back to, you know, what's happening here. You see, it's just going sideways here. And what's it going to do this morning? It's probably going to be erratic. And, again, back to interest rates. Which way do they jiggle around here? And we'll see. Let me continue. Transports didn't participate in as much of a way that would have been more beneficial to the broader markets. It just kind of pushed into the red bar. So it wasn't the confirmation of transports doing well. As I said, it was all about semiconductors primarily, and Apple and Microsoft. It was kind of back to that, big stocks dragging the market around, and really not a broad-based move higher. And well, we could take a look. Bitcoin down a little bit. Not a big deal. We looked at interest rates, and the dollar. Really not much of anything going on there. But just a view of what I think others have already talked about, and just in a different way. Looking at, on the right side is equally weighted Qs in S&P 500, and on the right side is obviously where those larger cap stocks are moving things around. And I'll go back to it, Jim. I did miss that. And you see the wide range bars and the move above the red bars. And you look at equally weighted, and it's like, what the hell's going on? Well, you're not giving that heavier weighting to those other stocks, and you can see the reality of what's happening underneath the hood. So, but this is like a buy setup, and this is a continuation pattern. So now the idea of, the rally expanding and starting to see relative strength in retail and biotech and regional banks and other things, that's what we're looking for. SPX. So as things move up, the call strike moves up dramatically. And seeing where it is, the range is expanded a bit. Something has to go very wrong to come down here today. And this might even be a little bit lower since they pulled back a little bit. But one of the things you have to do is with these things is recognize what's happening. And sometimes, maybe you got to get the hell out of the way, because, this pullback, that 4,400, 4,440 looked good, and it got a little bit above it. And so prices dipped down and they exploded higher. That was a problem. And so here, 43.60 down below, in no way should it go down to this bar today. And I don't think it will. You got support, and up at the top, 44.40. But that, I'd have to go back and look again and see if these move a little bit. They move quite a bit even pre-market. So all yours, Dan.
Morning. Yeah, I stayed in the Keys until noon here today, so the mic might sound a little different. Crispy, is that a good thing? That sounds like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Dutch. All right, so when I saw the market gap down, that's good, because immediately my bias, as Greg said in his own words, is a 1, 2, 3 for tomorrow. So we stay in the upper third, chop around, and let's see what happens. I don't have a lot of alarms going off, but we're fully bullish here. Actually, I just had a low alarm go off on Whirlpool. Not much volume here, but that's a nice 1, 2, 3. So that looks great. I had Hewlett Packard here. I had XEL. Let me put Whirlpool here because it's hard finding shorts right now. But that's a good one right there. Like JB Hunt. This bounce stopped us out with a gain on Friday, but if it trades under here, you can see it's a little similar to Whirlpool. Set an alarm. I had two alarms here go off pre-market. LSCC, double bottom, climb a weekly. And wow, that's it of the official trades. Very quiet. Let's a couple earnings here. Pre-market, not many. HSIC was down, now it's up. Climo, daily, weekly, will come back to you, but not bad. That's not bad at all. 30-minute high. Elway up a little bit. Trade's sloppy. Light volume, 106,000. But if it is gapping up here to 1340, I just see one print. It's a gap breakout with a bullish weekly monthly. All-time highs almost. So that looks fantastic. Tyson at earnings. Okay, I was hoping that it would be a bearish gap under here. Now it's up to, well, it's still a bearish gap, but not as much bearishness if it were down here. But let's keep an eye on that. 30-minute low, little $5 stock opening flat, no interest. So those were all the earnings. Here's a couple other miscellaneous things. Boeing, some type of news like they might be playing nice with China. Let's watch that on a pullback. Look at the weekly. Beautiful 1, 2, 3 following a Climo. So if that were to go to the 20 MA on the weekly, that's $208. It's 203.5 now. Look at that. The 20 there is perfectly lined up with this breakdown. So yeah, that's a nice one. No, I don't have my 6 screens, so these tier ones that I'm giving everybody, if you can help me watch them at the open. So this looks great on a pullback. Yeah, Hewlett Packard's right here, Thomas. That had an upgrade. I would have put that in the weekend ladder had I seen it. I was telling Greg, many times we scanned together and chat over the weekend. I saw so many little bull flag buy setups from bottoming patterns with weekly 1, 2, 3s. These patterns are everywhere. And this looks like it can go to the 200. It's pulling back right now. So that looks great. I have that one in this middle chart right here. So that's a tier one if it sets up. Mobley, I think this got it was either earnings or an upgrade, I forget. But, sloppy little consolidation here after breaking out. But you got a 180 reversal and you got a price void. That looks like that can go to the 200. This will be a beautiful put spread under Thursday's low, if there's any juice. Papa Delta, beautiful 180. It's another kind of sloppy bull flag with a void. My alarm went off, but I see it, pretty much flat. This would be a 30-minute high idea. I just was glancing up at CNBC and they were talking about Lilly and NVO CEO, I think, was on for a while. I mean, it's bullish, but it's up a lot, gapping down. 30-minute low would be a call spread over Thursday's high. NVO is getting hurt a little bit more, 99. Trading range, no pattern. But uptrend, look at the weekly, monthly are strong. TIVC, I just saw On the ticker, big old gap breakout. This trade's totally like a SPAC. Wow, there's no volume though. Shoot, no volume, 29,000, but something's totally up with this today. But I'm just gonna delete you. All right, we have a XEL. My alarm went off pre-market, but I don't see any prints, so I'm just gonna reset you. 59.33. Now this is a buy setup on support. There's every trade we have, it's like saying a dog's a dog, a motorcycle's a motorcycle. It's a motorcycle. But then you got to overlay the other criteria to assess the quality of it. So this has a deep retracement, like 95%, which you don't expect on a big breakout like that. But it came in a this is what we call controlled retracement. When I say controlled, I'm not talking about the depth. I'm talking about the arrangement of the high and low bars. So this leaves a fluid move down to move back up. So the point I'm getting at is this is a buy setup on support. It is tradable. But with a deep retracement, you just don't expect a new high. But here's where I say we're swing traders, 1 to 3, 4 day trades, whatever. If this goes 50%, I'll take it. That'll be a buck or so target. So I got my alarm. We're at the top of the range on the 15-minute chart. So ideally, I'll open flat and go sideways for at least 30 minutes before triggering. All right, we already talked about that. I have a huge watch list here. Let's just go over as many as we can here in the next couple minutes. Snow, bullish gap, consolidation, bullish engulfing over Friday's high put spread idea. I like the fact that it's gapping down because then it has to negate the morning weakness. I think I have an alarm at 161, and yes, I do. So that one, don't even worry about it. It's set. Seco, Greg mentioned this in his monthly video. Amazing gap breakout here on what was that, Tuesday. So let's watch that. It's too far from the 20 for an ideal entry here, but I don't care if it takes a week to set up. Bottoming pattern here, Yext over Friday's high looks good. Schwab is a buy setup. Bottoming tails, 1, 2, 3 on the weekly. So here's another example, like I mentioned, Hewlett Packard. So when I was doing the write-up for the trades, that's why I know there were so many of them, because I kept saying the same thing over and over again. Buy setup at the 50, 1, 2, 3 weekly price void. Pace C. This was just a big old gap getting its sea legs back. I have an alarm at 171. LSCC. We already talked about double bottom. My alarm went off. I just had an alarm go off on JELD. NVEI. ACGL. That was in the weekend letter. All right, so GELD. Guess what? It's another one. Well, no, I take that back. It's not a 1, 2, 3. I take that back. But little buy setup for a big move with a void. Keep an eye on that. I'm not doing anything at the open here, particularly on Mondays. Tyson. You know what I did on Tyson? This was earnings. You know what I did? I set an alarm at 47. You know why? I told myself, if it can negate this gap, then that's a beautiful bottoming pattern. And it's doing exactly that. So, it's too wild right now, but here ACGL triggered. I need to post that. That triggered cleanly. That's another well, it's a buy setup with a deep retracement. So same thing. I was talking about that other one. All right, Ori here is triggering. Let's see, Ori is another long. I'll get to these. DXCM. Yeah, another buy setup. Another buy setup after breakout. Yeah, Thomas, that looks good. Typically I don't trade in the first 5 minutes. On Mondays, I just like waiting 10 minutes as a general rule instead of 5. But this looks good. I would say 10-minute high. Let's just let some of the weekend euphoria orders unwind and so forth. But that is definitely a watch. Put it on the list. Let's see, I had NVEI alarm go off, but nothing to do right now. Zulu Sierra. It's a 180 after 100% retracement, bullish weekly monthly. It does look higher, Patrick. It looks higher. Let me see what the broader markets are doing. Broader markets are doing nothing. Daily, weekly, monthly, still bullish. 15-minute gap breakdown. I have no idea what this 15 minutes going to do. So I would say put it on the list, but don't be in a rush. Jable. I think I have an alarm. Let me reset it. 128.60. Yep, I already got it. 128.70, so I'll leave it. ABT. It's a bottoming pattern. You don't have a good price void, Patrick. But see if you can sell a put spread under Friday's low. Go through the checklist. Snow alarm. Let's see, is this an official trade? No, it's not. I just had an alarm. All right, so snow. Yeah, I think I looked for a put spread over the weekend. 152.50. Let me look again. Yep, I got I got snow in my toss. So that was the last stock I looked at before I sent out the advisory letter or weekly, whatever, weekly. All right, 152.5. 148 is 60 cents. Let's set a new alarm here. And this would be a great 30-minute high. See, look, upper right. See how the spiders came in there? 15-minute was a little ricey Diley or Diley Ricey, whatever his name is. So